This is a free sample of the book How to Talk to 9's and 10's by Cairo Copeland. The first half of the book is posted right here on YouTube, free for everyone to listen to. If you like this content and want to hear or read the rest of it, or want to listen to it free of ads, visit reinventideal.com/talk. The book is available on Kindle, paperback, and Audible at reinventideal.com/talk. Chapter 2. Under the Radar Allurement. That last chapter promoted a true indirect technique. That will be the only time I do that, because as you'll see from this chapter, true indirect allure is a recipe for disaster. Every guy likes to go indirect at first because they feel it is a shield against rejection. I warn that anything serving as a shield against rejection will be a disservice to you in the long run. But I get it. Indirect is easier to do. That's why I chose to start with an indirect opener. But there's a terrible temptation to continue being indirect with 9's and 10's throughout the rest of your interaction, and it will be a costly mistake when it's over. However, that does not make this form of allure useless altogether. Indirect allure is using situationally relevant openers and starting up a conversation without stating your romantic and sexual intentions. It can be effective, but only if it is done right. The wrong way to do it is with an opinion opener, which goes like this. Him. Hey, I need a woman's opinion on something. Can I ask you a question? Her. Sure. Him. I'm looking for a gift for this one girl that I know has a crush on me. It's her birthday coming up, but I don't want to give her the wrong idea. What would you say is an appropriate gift for this situation? They see right through this and know you're trying to pick them up, but don't have the nerve to say so. This shit used to work back in the old days before PUA was publicized. But nowadays, these tactics no longer work. The trouble with indirect allure is that you're contradicting yourself. You're trying to put yourself out there without putting yourself out there. If you're not the one taking a risk with the approach, then you're seen as creepy. However, if you go into the interaction in a way that puts you at the risk of rejection, you cannot be seen by her as creepy at all. True indirect allure is based on a theory of defeat, that women aren't at all interested in a guy until they have a chance to see what a great guy he is. This theory will have you friend-zoned and orbiting her endlessly. The trouble is that you present yourself as neutral. The blue pill guys and simps hope that by doing this, the woman will end up chasing them. Not going to happen. When you attempt to start a conversation with a woman that's a stranger to you, these thoughts run through her head. He's talking to me. I know he has a reason. It's not like he's talking to everyone here. He came up to me. He's acting like he's not interested in me at all, but keeps talking to me. Weird. Okay, I got it. He likes me. He just doesn't want to act like it. What a wimp. I wonder how far he'll go without telling me. It doesn't take a woman long to realize a man is using indirect and is doing it to hide his intent. Rarely, though, will the woman be rude as a result of this. Even though she's turned off, she finds him harmless. While he hides his intent, the guys who hide their intentions are often simps and pussies, and those guys are not threatening at all. What has guys continuing to use true indirect techniques is that sometimes she plays along and continues the conversation with him. She's only doing this because she finds it somewhat entertaining. Particularly, she gets a kick out of seeing how long you'll go with hiding your intentions and how far you'll go to keep them hidden. The guys who do this think they had a victory after the interaction. They are fooling themselves, because it never goes farther than this interaction. But there is a proper way to do this. Indirect direct allure. This is when you talk to her without stating intent, but keep a flirtatious, seductive vibe going. If she tries to feel you out for intent, or even outright asks you if you're hitting on her, you tease her back rather than giving a straight answer. Think of this as the way James Bond would flirt with women. He never flat out stated that he wanted to bang them. He just made that clear to them by having a sexual subtext to their conversing. It's all one big act. Instead of talking to her while you pretend to not be interested, you pretend to be talking to her while letting your interest leak out non-verbally. The interest dynamic is meant to be a sneaky one, not in the sense that you're hiding it as you hit on her, but rather you are painting a picture in her mind that she's the one doing the chasing. This is done by speaking words in a way that can carry a romantic or sexual connotation to them, but putting it on her to figure it out, which meaning you were intending the words to have. The burden of uncovering it is on her. An example would be talking about the weather with lots of sexual innuendo. You want to carry on the mindset that the two of you have been friends for years, but you know she's been into you all those years and has been trying to get with you all along. Instead of giving it up for her, you're making her work for it. You're interested in seeing how far she'll go to get what she wants. Instead of being direct, telling her that she's hot, you act like you don't need to tell her that. Example, when she comes out of the water at the beach dripping wet. Him, what a nice view. Her, excuse me? Him, the ocean. It's a nice view from here. Her, oh, I thought you were talking about something else. Him, you might have gotten a little bit of salt water in your ears. Her, probably. Him, I'm Cairo. What's your name? Her, Bria. Shakes her hand. Him, wow, you're still so wet. Her, him, your hand. What were you thinking? This works best if she is somewhat into you, which you will not be able to know beforehand. But if you have a suspicion, this conversation piece will confirm it. You must remember to always deliver these innuendos like James Bond. Never say them with a hint of laughter or any sign that you find this all to be funny. That would convey immaturity. You must speak them loudly for anyone to hear. Not doing so will make you sound creepy. So this method is indirect, but it is not fully indirect. You're giving out clues of your interest in her, but leaving it up to her to discover and put them together. Fully indirect can never get the results that this method acquires. Fully indirect is only helpful for the poor guys that have never talked to a woman before and need to get comfortable just carrying on a conversation with them. This method is to adopt the same mindset as James Bond. All those films are well worth studying, so you have countless examples of the persona you need to adopt. Notice how you never hear him tell a woman she's beautiful, or even compliment her at all. He did, however, use lots of innuendo that pretends to be innocent, but the sexual subtext is quite clear. You will seek to do the same. Find a situationally relevant thing to say to start up a seemingly innocent conversation, but carry on in it with a layer of sexual intrigue. But how exactly do you do that? You want to follow these practices. Make it more personal. The problem with the opinion opener is that it is very impersonal. You could have used that to start a conversation with anyone. Women only have conversations like that with people that don't much matter to them. So you'll want to make the conversation feel more engaging. You do this by making her feel like she's contributing and sharing more. Start by speaking to something that is not just something anyone can speak to. Make it seem you picked up on something special about her. Example, instead of saying, could you give me a woman's opinion on something? Ask, if I asked you for an opinion on something, would you give me the real raw truth of what you're thinking, or would you be too polite? And then after you do that, whatever her response is, you just say, I think I need to test that out. Seek more engagement. It's a dialogue between the two of you, not a monologue by either one of you. Where many guys go wrong is that they keep the conversation going by doing all the talking themselves. You're better served by saving the lengthy stories for later in the conversation when it's relevant. Guide it along a steady, natural progression to a point where telling such stories seems fitting. An example of this is, instead of asking, could you give me a woman's opinion on something? I'm about to do X, Y, and Z, and I'm curious how a woman would think about that because of A, B, and C. Substitute that with, before I ask you this question, tell me this. Would you consider yourself a happy person? And then after her response, whatever it is, respond with, how come? As you are doing this, operate under the assumption that she's going to realize you're talking to her because you're interested in her, not because you want to impress her. In fact, continue on like you're not even interested in impressing her. The fact that most guys feel they must impress her, but you're not lifting a finger to do that, is impressive by itself. Do not go on acting like she'll blow you off if you stop talking too early. Many guys will make the mistake believing that her attention toward him hangs by just a thread, and if he takes a breath, she'll be gone right away. Instead, your objective should be to get her to do more of the talking. Personalize the subject of the conversation. The great mistake is to do all the talking, to position your value as high to get her to chase you. The problem with this is that what you say is never something that would make her chase you. Seek easier transitions. When you go completely indirect, it's harder to transition into more personal things. It will always be awkward, and when there's an awkward moment, her patience with you evaporates. The best way is to be talking about things that are situationally and environmentally relevant instead of jumping around all over the place. Now back to our beach example, him. Everyone complains about the heat this time of the year, but that doesn't seem to deter you from coming out here. Her. Of course not. Gotta get my vitamin D. Him. Is that what has you out here all by yourself? Her. Partly. This place is really my happy place. This will accomplish the goal of already talking about her, which is already implying indirectly that he finds her interesting. Therefore, the transition to more personal subject matter is easier. In full indirect, no progression is expected because there isn't a reason for it. You may be less likely to get rejected by going full indirect. But that's only because the woman doesn't even know that you're attempting to get with her. Just like with investments, by reducing the risks, you also reduce the potential reward. That is why I advocate going as direct as possible and as soon as possible. And I'm going to tell you how to do that in the next chapter. Thank you for listening to this free sample of the book How to Talk to 9's and 10's by Cairo Copeland. If you enjoyed it and want to hear or read the rest, or want to listen to it free of ads, visit reinventideal.com/talk, where the book is available on Kindle, paperback, and Audible at reinventideal.com/talk.